Hey tribe! So today is all about my resupply on the Appalachian Trail. What I learned is that for this resupply process, flexibility is key. Hopefully I can give you all some tips for those future through hikers who plan to hike the Appalachian Trail. So we're going to start off with the basics of resupply. There are two ways that you can resupply on trail. One is you can have boxes sent to yourself, have someone send them, or you can just resupply while you're in town. So for me, because I have a restricted diet, I am a vegan, I chose to I had two of my best friends send me resupply boxes on trail. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pros of doing resupply and having boxes sent to you. So one of the pros is obviously if you have some type of restricted diet, if you're a vegan, if you're a vegetarian, maybe you're gluten free. I actually had like a few friends on trail, actually quite a few people that were gluten free. They also had boxes sent to them. And so that is one of the main reasons why I decided to have my boxes sent to me on trail. Another pro for sending boxes is it can be cheaper. You can decide, you don't have this limited amount of things in the store, but you have time to plan, and it can also be very cheap. For me, I did beans and rice and veggies, and I went and got things in bulk. So that's another pro of having your things sent to you on trail. Let's talk a little bit about some of the cons of having things sent to you on trail. One of the cons is if you're having things sent to the post office, oftentimes you have to get to that place in a certain time because the post office closes. And so you have to kind of configure your day around that, and that can be pretty challenging. So I would definitely say if you're deciding to do resupply, you may want to highly consider sending your things to hostels. And I will talk a little bit about that later. So another one of the pros for actually picking up things in town is you can decide what it is that you want to get, meaning in your box you have a set amount of things, and oftentimes I would go through my box and like, okay, I don't need this now, I don't need this is a lot. Yes, you can put it into the hiker boxes for people that need them, but one of the pros for going in town is you just get what you need, and you kind of have an idea because you know what you've already eaten. Some of the cons for in town resupply is obviously can get costly. For me, I was grateful that I had two Walmart gift cards that my job had given me, so I was able to use those in town. But oftentimes they weren't as many Walmarts as I would have thought. There were a few, but not as many. They were a lot of dollar stores, and so with the dollar store, even though it's a dollar store, I just remember my appetite being like crazy, me picking up a lot of things, and so it can get costly doing it that way. So let's go into what I actually used on trail, how many boxes I actually had sent and used. So I made a total of 20 boxes, and out of that 20 boxes, about 12 of them were sent to me. And so what I'd like to do is I have one here, and I just want to show you all, for those who didn't see my pre-resupply video where I talked in depth about, I will link that, all of the things that I was taking. I want to show you all right now what I had in most of my boxes. So these were my dehydrated meals. I used a plethora of different beans, chickpeas I will say the chickpeas they didn't fare well. They weren't, I had one package that was sent to me, and it looked like they were all kind of gone bad. So I don't know if it's just a chickpea thing. The lentils did very well. And I also had black beans. And so I had black beans, rice, and vegetables that I dehydrated. And I had two of those. This is like a healthier choice of ramen noodles, the koyoi. I had those. I also had some pistachios. I will say I did not have enough snacks. I should have packed a lot more snacks. Pistachios, I had 3 of those. I had my mix that I made, my trail mix that I made with pecans, walnuts, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and some hemp seeds. These were initially, I started out with the Laura bars. They were very good. Like I said, I needed to have a lot more of those. And then inside my boxes, I would pack things like hand sanitizer. And I don't have any in here, but I also would pack like the hand warmers and different things that I thought along the way periodically I might need, and that way I didn't have to go into the store and purchase those things. I had packs of olive oil, obviously, for calories. I had oatmeal most of the time for breakfast, you all know. More Laura bars. I will say things like this, which were like raw crackers, you know, maybe there's a way to preserve them, but it's very challenging. I had some on trail and they just, like, my stomach just was crawling because they were like stale. And so that, you know, didn't work. I like the idea because they're healthy, but they don't really fare well. So that's something to take note of. And this is some of my dry fruit. I had like dried pears and dried mangoes that I made. And then this is another one of my bags, black beans, rice that I had. And so that's kind of an idea of what I took with me on trail. Like I said, I only used 12 boxes. Would I do it again? Would I resupply again? What I say is, obviously I'm a vegan. I had tweaked my diet some while I was on trail. So I was doing the vegetarian thing, eating like pizza and things like that to keep my calorie, you know, intake up. But I know for certain I would do it again. I would not spend as much time doing the dehydrating. I think 12 to 15 boxes would work for me. What I like to say to those who are going out in 2026 is, the one main place off just the top of my head that I can remember is the 100-mile wilderness. Now, you have an option there as well. You can go to Shaw's and you can have them put together your resupply. It is costly. For me, it wasn't an option, and I already had boxes that were done. So I had 2 boxes sent to me, and that got me through the 100-mile wilderness. But that's something you're gonna have to think about when you get on trail. So would I do it again? Yes, I would. What I would say is, if you don't have a special diet and it's not restricted, you can absolutely resupply in town. You have the dollar store, you have Walmart, CVS, you have all the grocery stores, and oftentimes I was able to either ride a bike or walk to those places. But what I learned is your food cravings will change a lot. You will get sick of eating the same thing over and over again. Always keep a backup meal for long stretches of the trail. And lastly, resupply doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get you to the next town. So those are some of the things that I learned on my journey. Hopefully this helps somebody. If you have any questions, if you are a person who is going out in 2026, let me know. Hopefully this helps you out. If you already did the AT and you have some other ways in which people can benefit from Resupply, please put them down below. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, love and hike.